Okay, a couple things I want to go through, and then I want you guys to work on some things. So, part of this you're going to do, I want to do one example where we're kind of all go through one. I'm going to have you do one common example, but then after that, I'm going to let you grab your Chromebooks and we'll go through a couple examples on the board and then have you do stuff from your actual assignment so you get stuff done on your assignment. But I'm going to tell you what problems to do. So you're going to be working on your assignment, getting your homework done, but I'm just going to direct which one I want you to do at that moment so I can walk around and make sure everybody's doing it right. Does that make sense? Okay. So this one, get your notes out, let's have a look. This is kind of where we left off yesterday with stuff like this, right? We looked at an example or two like this. Let's just make sure we have this down though. We want to write the simplified standard form equation of the parabola with a focus at 6,2 and a directrix at y equals -4, right? So we want to come up with the standard form equation. I think it really does, I've kind of wrestled with this and I believe it's really helpful for you guys to draw an accurate sketch. You know, something that you can look at, and from that it's easier. Eventually, you know, as you get better at math and you may not need that sketch anymore. You're going to probably come up with some relationships that are going to allow you to not even need the sketch. But for now, let's do that. Okay, so first things first, everybody sketch that. We want this line and this point. And when you're drawing the line, the first thing you got to ask yourself is it horizontal or vertical? What's it going to be? Horizontal. How come? This line right here, is this directrix, I'm asking? Is that horizontal or vertical? It's horizontal because which axis is it cutting? Yeah, that's giving us the y-intercept of that horizontal line, isn't it? Right. So if it cuts through the y-axis, it's got to be horizontal, right? So we want a horizontal line and a point, and then you just got to determine in your sketch, is the point going to be above or below the directrix? Okay. So go ahead. Let's sketch that part first. What do you think? Is the point above or below?
Above.
Above. How come?
Because it's 2.
2 is bigger than -4, right? The y value of the point is bigger than the y value of the line. So there's our point, our focus, right? And the coordinates are 6, 2. Okay, so where is, Nick, where does, just in general, where does the vertex go? In the center, goes between those two. So about there, right? So that's our vertex V, and we need to find the coordinates, which are just H and K. Okay? All right, so think about that for a second. How would you describe if it's a horizontal directrix? What's that telling us about the parabolas? It can open vertically or horizontally? Vertically, right? Based on our picture, is the parabola going to open up or down? Say it again. Up. How come? Tyler, how come? You're right.
The way the point starts.
Yeah, good. Okay, because it starts at the vertex and it's got to go away from the directrix and swallow the focus. It's going to do that, isn't it? Right. Good. So here's a picture of what our parabola, a sketch of what we know it's going to look like. Okay. Emma, which coordinate of the vertex is going to be the same as the coordinate of the focus? The 2. So the y coordinate is going to be the same? Oh, it wouldn't be the y, would it? It's going to be the x coordinate, isn't it? So it's going to be the 6, right? Does that make sense? Because for a vertical parabola, remember that the axis of the folding axis of the parabola is right there, isn't it? Right? We could fold the parabola like this, and it'd fold on itself. So that means that the focus and the vertex are both going to be on that axis of symmetry of the parabola. So they're going to have the same x values. They would cut through the x-axis at the same place, right? Okay, so then we know that the 6 is going to go there, right? All we've got to do now is find the value of k, right? So how are we going to find the value of k, the y coordinate of the vertex? Okay, good, good. We're just gonna average, it's gotta be halfway in between this y value and that y value, so we'll average them, right? Angelica, how do we average two numbers again, remember? Any two numbers, they have to be specific to this. How do we do that? Chase, how do you average two numbers? Find the middle value.
That number times what to get the other number?
Well, not exactly. I mean, yes, ma'am.
Add them together and divide by 2.
Yeah, just add them and divide by 2, right? Always finds the middle value. So if we add these numbers, 2 plus negative 4 divided by 2 is what? What's 2 plus negative 4? Negative 2 divided by 2? Negative 1. Okay, so there's, that make sense? So we got h and k, don't we? Right? We know that, let's keep track of what we know here. We know h is 6, right? K is negative 1, because those are the coordinates of the vertex. Now, all we need is p, right? All we need is p. Is p going to be positive or negative here? Positive. What's one reason you could tell me, you could look at this and say, oh, it's positive for sure. How come? Good. Parabola opens up, right? If it's a vertical parabola, p is going to be positive if the parabola opens in the positive direction, so it opens up. P would be negative if it opens in the opposite direction, if it opens down. What if it's horizontal? What's the positive direction horizontally? To the right, isn't it? So if it's a horizontal parabola and it opens to the right, that would be a positive p, right? If it opens backwards to the left, that would be a negative p, okay? So we know p is positive, we just need to know what its value is. Well, p is the distance starting where and ending where? Yeah, starting in the middle at the vertex and moving to the focus, right? So just think of an ant crawling on this graph up here. The ant's going to start there and end there. How far did he crawl? The x has stayed the same, but he moved from a y coordinate of negative 1 up to 2. So it's 3, isn't it, right? So this tells us that p equals 3. If you want to think about it this way, and I think the picture is the best way, but if you want to think about it this way, p is always going to be the focus number minus the vertex number every time, right? And in this case, we're talking about y numbers, aren't we? So it would be, so in this case, p would be, the focus number is 2 minus negative 1, which is 3. But I think it's almost easier just to get it from the graph. Either way, though. Okay. So now that we know what p is, we can just plug into our standard form. So what is the standard form for a vertical parabola? What is it? Which variables being squared? Which variables being squared? X or y? X. So it's this one, isn't it? It's going to be the x minus h squared on the left and the y minus k on the right. The 4p's on the right? Make sense? So we're just going to plug into that formula then, right? So what do we get if we plug these numbers in? So we're going to get x minus what? H. What's h? 6. X minus 6 squared equals 4 times p. What's that? So 4 times 3 is 12 times y minus negative 1, which is really what? There it is. That's our answer. Just like that. Okay? All right, so you try that one. Start with the sketch. Right? So you want to be careful. Graph the directrix line, sketch the directrix line, horizontal or vertical, you decide. Think about it and decide. And then plot this point be careful to put the point in the right place relative to the line, and if you do that stuff carefully and you label it, it's a piece of cake. Right? Then the vertex is in the middle and go from there. See what you got. Okay, good job. Tell you what, let's quickly. I think everybody saw this. I'll be quick because I went through it with almost everybody, but I didn't see everybody finish it completely. So we're gonna draw our sketch. So we've got the directrix is a vertical line, right? I'm gonna label that. Okay, and this is how I think you should do your work. I think if you follow this template, it'll be easy to do. Focus is left or right? Left. -7 is left of -1. So there's our focus. Label it with an F. The coordinates are -7, +8. So the vertex goes halfway in between, right? Right there. We'll label that with a V. And what are the coordinates going to be? Which coordinate's going to be the same? The Y coordinate is. They line up horizontally, so we know that that's an 8. This one right here, we know has got to be an average. It's got to be the middle value. Okay, so what two numbers am I averaging? I'm finding the X coordinate of my vertex. So what is that? What's -7 plus -1? Divided by 2? Okay, so there's H and K. Good. And we know that our parabola is just going to do that, right? Is it going to be, P going to be positive or negative then? Negative. It's opening in the negative direction. And here's P. How far do we move from V to F? -3, right? To go from -4 to -7 is -3. So we just plug it in. This is a sideways parabola, so we need the horizontal one. So we get y minus k. K is 8, right? So y minus k squared equals 4p. 4 times -3 is -12 times x minus -4, x plus 4. Okay? Good. All right, so let's look at this guy. Yeah, let's look at this. Okay, this is a really quick. This one should be. I think this one should be really quick and really easy, because all we've got to do is figure out, is this a vertical or horizontal parabola? By inspecting the equation, what are the values of h, k, and p? And that's all we need, right? So is it vertical or horizontal? Vertical, because the x variable is being squared. Good. So what is the value of h? How do we know? Okay, because of this, right? We're going to compare this to x minus h squared equals 4p times y minus k. So what's h by comparison? 3. H is 3. K is what? -2, right? Everybody see that? -2. And what's p going to be? If 4p equals -16, what do I do to this number to find p? Divide by 4. -16 divided by 4 is -4. Okay? So that's all the stuff we need right there. Let's just go find the parabola that matches that stuff. So the coordinates are at 3, -2. Okay, so that's not it, is it? And it's going to open to the left, right? Everybody agree? Oh, hold it. Up. It's vertical, right? So maybe that's another thing we could do over here. We know that it's going to look like that, right? So we need a vertical one. How about that guy? At x equals 3, -2, that's it. Now, I didn't give you a focus on this graph, so you can't really, all you need to know about the p in this case, oh, hang on, p is negative. I drew it wrong. It's not opening up, it's opening down. Okay, so right? So it's got to do this. So that's not it. Where was it? Oh, right there. Right there. Yeah. So 3, -2, those are the right coordinates. And because it opens down, that's got to be it. Right? You agree? Okay? All right, whoops. Okay, let's go. How about here? Okay, same kind of problem. Opening horizontally or vertically? Horizontally, okay. What's the value of h? -3, everybody agree? Because that's an x minus -3, right? So from there, what's the value of k? -5, right? What's the value of p? Just going to divide that number by 4, right? So I get p equals 2. And so you tell me then, you said it was a horizontal parabola and it opens to the right. So we should be able to find this pretty easily. Okay, so we know it's going to look like that, right? So -3, -5 are the coordinates of the vertex. Is that the vertex? No, what's that supposed to be? Focus, yeah. Okay, so -3, -5. Well, that's the right place, but that parabola is not opening sideways, right? So that's not it. Okay, what about this guy? -3, -5, so that looks pretty good. We got the right vertex, don't we? But what's the value of p for this parabola? Only 1, because we only have to travel 1 from focus to vertex, right? Or vertex to focus. So that's not it. So we got to keep looking. Oh, that's it right there, isn't it? Right? Look at this one. So -3, -5, there's the vertex, and the focus is 2 to the right of the vertex, so that's it. Good? Okay. Okay, how about one like this? Okay, that's a little tougher, because that's not given to us in a very convenient form, is it? Right? So what are we going to do to get that in a form that's going to allow us to find h, k, and p? Yeah, we got to put this into standard form. So this is going to be the standard form where the y is the variable being squared, right? So we've got to make this thing look like y minus k squared equals 4p times x minus h, right? Okay, so let's go through that process. That means that we're going to collect the y terms on the left, right? So we've got those y terms, y squared minus 2y space, right? Got to leave space for that other number that we need, equals all the other stuff we got to push to the other side. So how do I get rid of that -4x? Add it. So I'm going to get a positive 4x on this side, and I'm going to get a positive 15, right? Okay, so let's complete the square here. Looking ahead, what is the number that's going to have to go there? Do you know? We don't do it in that order usually, but I'm just curious. We usually do this first, and I like this better, doing it that way. But what is that number going to be? It's going to be 1. How come?
2 divided by 2.
Yeah, so half of -2 is -1. Squared is 1, right? So the number that goes with the x down here is just gonna be a -1, isn't it? Right, half of -2. But then I gotta add the blue number 1 to both sides, right? So we end up with the equation x minus 1 squared equals 4x plus 16. What's my last step? I gotta get it to look like that. I've gotta get the x inside a quantity by itself. It's the last thing I've gotta do to that 4x plus 16. I've gotta factor out a 4, right? Or undistribute a 4. So on this side, we're gonna divide both terms by 4. I'm gonna factor that out front. So I get a 4 times what's left over. If I divide 4x by 4, what do I get? Well, I get x, right? And if I divide positive 16 by 4, I get 4. Does that work? Let's check it. If I distribute the 4 to both of these things, I should get this result, right? 4x plus 16, it works, right? Make sense? So my final answer looks like x minus 1 squared equals 4 times the quantity x plus 4. So all that work was really just to get back to where we started from on the last problems. But now we can look at that and identify h and k and p, right? So what do we have? So what's h? Negative, oh, hold on, which one's which? That's supposed to be, it is a y, isn't it? Whoops. Yeah, you're right, it's -4. We changed that. That might have, oops. Right, those were supposed to be y's, not x's. Okay, good. So then h is -4. K is what goes with the y. What's k? +1. And if the number in front of the x is a 4, that's equal to 4p, right? So what's p? 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1, right? So that's all the stuff we need after we've completed the square. Now we just got to find the right parabola. So this one is going to be, we said, a sideways parabola, right? If p is negative, what's it going to look like? No, p is positive, sorry. So it's a sideways parabola opening which way? To the right, because p is positive. So we're going to look for one like that with those numbers, right? Let's find it. So sideways parabola, negative, no, that's not it. Vertex has to be a -4, 1. No. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? Actually, maybe that was it. That could be it, huh? So -4, 1. And p, uh-oh, wrong p. What's the p here? 2. Okay. That looks pretty good though, doesn't it? H is -4, K is +1, that's good. So we got the right coordinates. And what's P? 1, that's it. See how it works? Okay? All right. Have at it. How much time we got?
7 minutes.
Okay, well, do what you can. 7 minutes. Get questions answered. Do what you can.